Okay, hello and welcome. This is Master Jason Purcell.
And I'm Instructor Marie Clement, and this video is number 2 on our checkmarks and stripes system. In this video, we want to talk about different options for the various traits students can be working on and how specifically they can work on these things. Every belt level, we want students working on 2 different traits, which are either behavioral traits or life skills. Behavioral traits are things like having them listen the first time, or picking up their room, and not arguing with mom and dad. Life skills are doing things that ultimately are going to help them later on down the road, such as having better time management skills, or having good hygiene, or doing their homework without complaining.
Some kids are really well behaved, and if this is your family, congratulations, you have won the kid lottery, okay? But there are things that we can all improve on. I remember not that long ago, I was talking with 2 parents about what we wanted their kid working on at home for these check marks, and I suggested, well, what about, some listening skills? And both of them were very adamant that their kid actually listened really well, and Dad even said, I don't know what we could have him work on. He's just so good at this. And so I said, okay, I'm curious. And I turned to his wife. I said, how's your husband at listening to you? And she started laughing and she's like, okay, he could work on that a bit. And so then I turned to Dad. I said, okay, what about your wife? How is she with her listening skills with you? And they both, again, started laughing. And we were joking, but also being a little bit serious here. The point is that if us adults can be working on improving our listening skills, why do you think your 7-year-old is perfect with this, right? There are always things that all of us can work on. Dad then turned to his wife and said, okay, I see the point. Let's find something for him that he can work on.
When selecting the 2 traits for the student, something very important to think about is how difficult will this thing be to work on? And how specifically should they and can they be working on this? When you first start in our program, it's important to make these traits simple to understand and easy to work on. Try to make these traits as tangible as possible. For example, if you want them spending 10 minutes to pick up their toys around the house, this is a very easy thing to understand. You either pick up your toys or you don't. Or you want them listening the first time with their morning routine to get out of bed, put on their clothes, and brush their teeth. Again, this is something very specific and easy to understand, especially if you give them a time limit.
Whereas if you tell them you want them working on black belt respect, now that's a great thing to work on. Let's say you don't want them arguing or talking back. This is something that the student could actually want to work on, but they might have accidentally already turned it into a bad habit, and thus they don't even realize when they're doing it. They might honestly want to work on this because they want to earn that check mark, but they might not know how. Right? They might not even realize when they're acting this way. Also, if this is something that is emotionally based, it can be really hard to work on.
We had a student years ago who really wanted to earn his check marks and get all of his stripes and earn his medals and trophies. He was highly motivated, but for some time to time, he would have a meltdown and throw a tantrum. His parents would try to reason with him and try to coax him into doing the right thing with the check marks. But when kids and even some adults get really emotional, we can't reason with them. You can't be logical because their motivation has been replaced by a negative emotion. With this young man, his parents told him if he didn't stop arguing, they wouldn't give him a check mark. He was in tears and angrily screamed, "I don't care!" He then ran and got the laminated check sheet and erased all of his check marks to show his defiance.
Later that night, when he had finally calmed down, he became really upset at what he had done. He did want to earn his check marks. He absolutely wanted his check marks. But in that moment of emotional defiance, he was in a very different headspace. Now, we aren't saying, don't ever work on these things. We absolutely want them working on things like this. The point is, especially with the first several belt levels, pick something easier that you know they can accomplish, such as taking out the trash or clearing the dishes after dinner. Great job, black belt responsibility. As they earn their check marks and as a result earn their next belt level, and also as they earn some of their ribbons and medals, they start building their confidence and knowing they can succeed with these things. They can be successful at this task, and the next task you give them, hey, we can do that also.
Eventually, when you do want them working on one of these more difficult traits, come and talk to us so we can help put together a game plan. In general, with these sorts of traits, it's good to have the student work on their black belt breathing. When they start getting upset first, empathize with them and say, I see that you are really upset and I want to be able to help you. Let's first practice our black belt breathing. I'll do it with you. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And keep doing that for a little while until everyone has calmed down.
Emotions can easily become contagious. So if our kid gets really, really upset, it can make us get a little bit upset as well. And if we get upset, do our kids suddenly start acting better? No, they get even more upset. So having our kids practicing their deep breathing isn't just beneficial for them, it can help us as well. And this is really important. We need to show our kids the emotions we want them feeling. Let me repeat that again. We need to show our kids the emotions we want them feeling. If we want them to calm down, it's important for us to be calm as well. So again, empathize with them and say, I see that you're really upset. I need to practice my black belt breathing also, so let's do that together first, and then we can figure out a solution for this. Okay, ready? Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, do it again, right? Deep breath in, deep breath out. And do that for a little bit. And you can start with just having them do this to earn a check mark. Even if they don't fix the behavior, let's just practice the black belt breathing. And if you do the black belt breathing, you got your check mark.
The next module, in a month or two, make it a little more in-depth, where they have to do their black belt breathing, but also use their words and talk about the situation and what just happened. Talk about what they could have done differently. Then we can have them working on actually doing the thing they are talking about. So really, there are 3 major steps with this. First, have them be able to calm down in the moment and not overreact. Secondly, we want them being aware of that reaction and thinking about what they could be doing differently. And thirdly, we want them to change their actions in the future so they aren't getting into trouble or making things much harder.
A general rule of thumb is if we're having them work on a trait and they're really struggling to get their check marks, then rethink that task and possibly that trait. If you want to give them a different, more manageable task, do that. Another option is to come and talk to us and have us help put together a game plan with you and with the student. But again, especially with the first several belt levels, give them an easier task that is simple to understand and simple to follow through on. Black belt listening, turn off your tablet. Done. Black belt responsibility, take out the trash. Pretty simple to understand.
We talked about this in our first video, that we want the students ideally doing something they can work on every single day. Every day, if they do this task, they earn their check mark. But sometimes you might want the student working on a task they can't do every single day. How do we handle giving out a check mark for something like this?
For example, I had a student who was getting into a fight with his mom, and he had a bad habit of slamming the door to exit the conversation. She wanted him working on his black belt respect and not slamming the door. The good news was they weren't fighting every single day. They would get into a fight like this once a week or every other week or whatever that was, but not every day, obviously. For something like this, there's 2 ways you can handle this. The first and easiest of the 2 is to simply give them a check mark every day they have a good day. For example, every day he did not get into a fight with his mom, he'd get a check mark. You could also add, if we get into a fight, but you don't slam the door, you can also earn a check mark. By doing this, we're taking an action that they don't work on daily, but bringing it to the student's attention and making them be aware of it daily.
The other option, instead of giving them a check mark every day they do well, is to give them more than 1 check mark when they accomplish the task. Maybe they only have a chance to perform this task once or twice per week. You could always give them 2 or 3 or 5 check marks. We had a parent who gave their kid 10 check marks, and thus they would earn a stripe on their belt if they could accomplish doing the task even just once, simply because the task was a bit difficult. Remember, students need to earn at least 10 check marks from both traits in order to be eligible to pass the belt test from their parents.
The most amount of check marks a student can gain in one module for one trait is 50 check marks. What you don't want to do is give the student a ton of check marks within a short period of time. Remember that one belt level, one module, lasts 2 months. If you give the student 50 check marks in the first week, now they're not going to be as motivated to work on this trait over the next 7 weeks. This is why ideally we like the student trying to earn a check mark every day, because if they do this over the course of 7 to 8 weeks, they could earn up to those 50 check marks in that time.
But ultimately, parents, we want you using these check marks as a tool to help you with your parenting. As always, if you ever have any questions with any of this, please come and talk to us so we can help.
We're now going to go over a list of a bunch of these examples the students can be working on. You might want to pause the video as we go through this and write down any that you really like. On the laminated checkmark sheet on the back of that page, we have a list of some of these things that we're going to be talking about here. If there's anything you want to modify to fit for your family, great, use that. Again, this is meant to be a tool for parents to help with parenting. So first, we can work on black belt listening. And with listening, there's a lot of times in the day. Let's try to be specific on one thing and work on that one thing for those 2 months. So we can work on black belt morning routine, right? Brushing your teeth, getting your clothes on, getting ready for breakfast, whatever that is. Getting out the door fairly fast. Coming to this dinner table and staying at the dinner table for whatever time that is. Black belt listening with getting off of electronics and doing it the first time they're told. Black belt listening with going to bed. Now this one can be a little bit harder because they might be really tired and thus more emotional, but that is something that we could work on as well.
Black belt responsibility. So this is taking out the trash, taking care of a pet, doing the dishes, picking up a room, picking up art supplies, picking up clothes, coming home with their backpack, lunchbox, jacket, and shoes, any other chores.
We can have them work on black belt homework. First, you might just give them a check mark if they do their homework. After a while, you could say, okay, now you have to do your black belt homework, but not argue about it. A third choice is saying, okay, you have to do your homework on your own. So you might set an alarm, and at 4 o'clock, when that alarm goes off, your kid has to get their homework and do it. And if they do that on their own, then they earn their check mark.
Black belt respect. Not arguing, not using a certain tone, respect for a sibling, respect for another student in school, respect for a teacher or coach.
You can have them work on black belt reading and do a specific amount of reading in the day, maybe 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever you want with this.
There's black belt good sportsmanship, not being arrogant and bragging when you win, not throwing a fit and being a poor loser.
They can work on black belt self-control, recognizing in that moment that they need to change their specific behavior, recognizing in the moment that they need to control their emotions. That can be another thing too. And again, that's a little bit harder to work on with your emotions, but we can absolutely have them work on that.
Black belt self-regulation, recognizing you should take yourself out of that situation and find a place to go.
This one is one I really, really like, especially if you're working on black belt sibling respect. Ahead of time, talking to the students about, okay, if you get into a fight, if you can stop fighting, where can you go so that you stop fighting? Okay, can you go to your bedroom and can you go down to the playroom or wherever? And if they're separated, they can't fight. That fixes it. So talking to them about black belt self-regulation, so they put themselves in a situation where they will succeed. That can be a really good one. We can also work on black belt communication. So first, just having them try to use their words to communicate. So if they're really upset, you can say, hey, black belt communication, just try to talk to me. What are you feeling? What's going on? And if they can talk, even if they're still upset, but they try to talk, they might get a check mark from that. Or you could have them work on trying to talk about their day. For example, you pick them up from school. How's your day? It's okay. No, okay, black belt communication. So tell me the best thing that happened and tell me something bad that happened today. Let's go through those things. And if they can talk about it and get into it, even for 5 minutes or whatever that is, then they can get a check mark for this. Also, you could have them using their words to try to work out a problem with a sibling, a classmate, or a family member. Or you can also have them work on black belt communication by making eye contact and starting a conversation with someone new in the day. Some kids are really shy, and you might say, hey, when we go to the grocery store and the checker is there, if you can say, hi, how's your day? Just say it something like that. We're gonna give you your check mark for black belt communication.
There's black belt time management skills, making a bed and getting dressed, taking a shower, doing a chore, doing homework.
You can have them set an alarm, and if they do it in that specific amount of time or under that time, they get a check mark for that. We can have them work on black belt nutrition. Now this could be eating their vegetables, or eating healthy food, whatever that is, or trying some new food. Even if you don't like it, if you just try something new, you get your check mark for that. Or maybe not as much junk food, or eating something healthy over junk food. If you make a decision like that, you can get a check mark for black belt nutrition.
Black belt emotional intelligence, so not throwing a fit, talking about your feelings, leaving and going to a safe spot, meditation, taking deep breaths and then talking.
So these are all things they could do when they're really upset, okay? We can also work on black belt courtesy, so being polite to a sibling, being polite to their friends, being polite to their classmates or their parents. You could have them going out of their way to be nice to someone. So you can say, hey, if you can go out of your way and be nice to your sister, help her pick up her toys or whatever, then I'll give you your check mark for that.
Black belt health, getting exercise, doing something physical like soccer, a hike, playing on the playground, brushing teeth, getting enough sleep, taking a shower.
There's black belt accountability, so not blaming others, also taking responsibility for both the good and the bad things that you might have done.
Black belt self-discipline, doing something you know you need to do and doing it on your own, doing piano, guitar, music lessons, or any extracurricular activities.
You could have them work on black belt sharing. That can be something harder for younger kids.
Black belt courage, doing something they are afraid of, trying to make new friends, getting a shot or a vaccine, overcoming a phobia.
I've had some kids that didn't want to go to bed because they're afraid of going to bed by themselves. So if they can stay in bed at night, then they would get their black belt courage check mark. We can also have them working on black belt exercise and coming to class. They could get a check mark for black belt exercise. A day they don't come to class, well, could they go outside and go for a walk?
Black belt positivity, no whining, having a good attitude, no excuses, not allowed to say can't, no arguing.
We can work on black belt confidence, so trying something new, or being okay with not being perfect at something, being able to laugh at yourself, speaking loudly, body language, having good body language with confidence, not walking around like this, but walking around with your head up, making eye contact, like when you go to the grocery store, something along those lines.
Black belt perseverance, so not giving up, setting a goal and working on it.
We can have them work on black belt focus. So having a time to calm down. Maybe they're running around, say, okay, hey, we got to work on black belt focus. You could even have them have a book on the side or some Legos. And if they can just sit down and do that thing and just focus on that thing, then they could get their check mark from this.
Black belt creativity, trying something new, practicing drawing or painting, practicing photography.
For older kids also, we can work on black belt observation. It doesn't have to just be for older kids, but going on walks with binoculars, focusing on the different trees and birds and insects, focusing on different colored cards, the makes, the models, trying to remember details from watching a movie together.
Black belt empathy, role play from someone else's position, explain what someone else is feeling or possibly thinking.
You can also watch a movie together and then pause it and ask, what do you think that person is feeling? What would you be feeling if you were in their position? That's another good way to work on black belt empathy. We can also work on black belt sibling respect. So not fighting with your sibling, sharing with your sibling, teaching or working with your sibling, being polite and kind to your sibling, self-regulation. So again, where can you go? If you start getting upset, saying, hey, black belt sibling respect, and say if you can separate, if you can go to your bedroom and you can go down to the basement or wherever it is, or you can go outside to the backyard, if you can separate, I'll give you your check mark, because that's self-regulation with black belt sibling respect.
So there's black belt maintaining relationships. This is writing a letter to a family member or friend, or an email to that family member or friend, or sending pictures to a family member or friend.
And with this, you might just do it once a week. And if they do that at the end of the week, they get 5 check marks or 7 check marks or whatever you want. But the point is, this is a good way for them to maybe keep up with grandma or an aunt or an uncle or somebody else that you know is important to the family. We can also have them work on black belt good citizenship. So picking up trash, opening the doors for strangers if you're at the supermarket or if you're at a restaurant, using polite words.
There's black belt volunteering, so helping out with something.
We can work on black belt leadership, so helping with classes at the studio, or helping other people maybe at school, helping the teacher at school, being a role model. You can be a role model in our classes, you can be a role model at home, especially if they have a younger sibling. They can be a role model at school.
Black belt education, getting your grades or grade up, helping other students in the class, really putting more effort into your studies.
There's black belt thankfulness. So saying you're thankful for things throughout the day, or maybe at the end of the day while you're having dinner, you can all talk about what you're thankful for. If you can do this, you get a check mark for that.
Now we've covered a lot of different options, but you might think of something else to add to this. If you ever want help brainstorming, come in and talk to us and we can help put something together. The main thing is to preface what you want the student working on by calling it black belt, and then whatever you call it.
Every 2 months, we'll have the student working on these 2 traits. And at the end of those 2 months, you'll pick another 2 traits. This could be the exact same, or you can keep the trait but make it a little more difficult. Maybe you have them work on black belt listening and getting off their electronics, but this time they can't complain about it, okay, to earn that check mark. Or pick something totally different. Pick a new trait for them to work on.
Well, thank you for taking the time to watch this.
And as always, we'll see you out on the mats. Take care.